I know sometimes you also feel pain in the knees when you do lotus pose, or when you stay more deeper in the lotus pose, or maybe when you do some variations in the lotus pose, such as Padmasana when you hold, bind it, or many other variations. Or maybe many people, they feel pain even when they exit the pose. Today video we will cover step-by-step technique, how to enter, what key points that you need to keep in the mind before you do the lotus pose or come out the lotus pose. Watch the video completely so you will have a proper understanding how to do and how to come out from the pose. Namaste, my name is Prashant. In today's video we will learn the Padmasana pose. So first understand, this is also called Padmasana. This is also called kamalasana. So Padma means in Sanskrit called lotus pose, Kamal also called lotus pose. So you also can say lotus, you also can say Padmasana or kamalasana. Many of us, we have this kind of, the pain in the knees sometime when you stay longer, or when you come out from the pose, or even sometime when you enter to the pose. In today's topic, we will cover step-by-step technique how you can cure this pain if it is coming because of stiffness of the knees or because of any wrong adjustment when you do lotus pose. So before understanding the lotus pose, you need to understand the movements of the knees. So I am in lotus pose. I can stay lotus pose in lotus pose for quite long time because I know the proper way how to stay, how to do, how to exit. The same my experience I will be sharing with you. So don't skip the video, complete the video, watch properly and share it if you can. If you think that it can be useful for others, share so they can also perform the lotus pose. Let's start. So as I do lotus pose, first thing you need to keep in the mind that the knees, when you perform, your knee should be always locked. What do you mean about the lock? See here, in the lotus pose, many of us, what we do when we go up like this, we take a bottom foot, we hold and we just twist. So what exactly we are doing, we are moving the lower leg against the upper leg. This is the biggest mistake that we do. So what I'm saying here, what you have to do, you have to lock your knee. Because anatomically, knee doesn't have twisting movement. You need to understand one thing. So any posture in which the knees are twist, it is not exactly what you think it's a twist. It's sometimes the twist comes from the hip joint and it looks that it's coming from the knees. So you need to pay attention in each asana when you perform and when you watch the in some videos. So what I want you to do is, when you do lotus pose, you always bend the knee like this, and it should not open. You can see the gap here. The calf muscle is touching the inner thighs. So this gap needs to be filled completely. But before you go to the lotus pose, I want you to do some basic exercise which can loosen up the joint and which can also keep your joint more kind of free to take this intense movement. So what you have to do before going lotus, just simply interlock your finger and just move like this 10 times, 15 times like this. So in that way, you are just trying to keep the knee free from the vayu, which is a wind releasing movement. It is called pavan muktasana. So you're just trying to release the tension or release the stiffness, making it a little flexible. So same thing you will do from the left side like this 10-15 times. You just move it. Once you do 10-15 times, I want you to do another movement also, which is also very important, because lotus pose requires knee movement, knee joint movement and the hip joint. I want you to do some exercise for the hip basic exercise which you use in the lotus pose. So butterfly pose, because the muscles which is holding your knee to not to go down, these muscles need to be very flexible if you do lotus pose. That's why many people, when you see, I think you saw that many people when they do lotus pose, knees are like this, too much high, too much up, because maybe you don't have this flexibility in your groins, in your thighs, in your hip joint, which is not allowing you to push down. You don't need to push it here. In lotus pose, you should never to push the knee down, because that can cause the injury. You need to make sure that you are flexible, then only. If not, you're not flexible, do another preparatory exercises to make it flexible. So first movement you understood, this one. The second movement, butterfly, little bit, not too much, just little bit butterfly, so that you can be little prepared, warmed before you enter into the lotus pose, kamalasana. So 10-15 times you just move like this. Once you warm enough, now come steps. What are the steps? So the first step, you go straight. So straight Dandasana. When you are in Dandasana, you first see that how much the spine is falling down or spine is straight. If the spine is straight, it means you have a good flexibility in your hip socket. If you feel that your legs are moving outside, if you feel that your body is falling down, if you feel that you feel a little heaviness in your back muscles, which is not allowing your spine to be straight, it means you have stiffness right now. Don't worry about it. Stiffness doesn't mean that you cannot do. It means that you need to work a little more intellectually, more you need to pay attention, that's it. And more preparation you have to do to keep the body flexible. Now, the second, first you came to Dandasana, second step, bend the knee. You first bend, don't lift like this. No, never do this. You just bend. So this is completely closed. You can see that, this gap. So this is closed. And now the second step of lotus pose is to drop the knee to the side, to open the hip joint. Before you bend from the knee, you did the knee movement. Now the second is you are doing hip movement, joint of the socket movement. Now when you do this, now what I will do is, I already opened my hip in the lotus pose. I will not change the gap here. This gap you should not change. I will just lift my foot like this without changing the gap. I will lift the knee also by holding with my right hand. I will just from the side, I will do this on the top. So the heel will come to the navel. So heel is navel. This, see, still my knee is, my joint, this gap is not moving. So this is fixed gap. You also need to make sure that your gap is fixed. It is not twisting against each other. Second very important part that I showed you, that hip. Because in lotus pose, see Dandasana leg. When you do lotus pose, from the neutral leg of Dandasana, it is external rotation. Understand the hip movement? It is external rotation. So make sure that you have good movement, mobility in your rotation, in your hip socket. That can allow you to come to the proper lotus when you are going with bringing the foot on the opposite side of the thigh. So this you need to pay attention. So two steps we understood. First, again, bend. Second, drop. Third, without changing the gap, you just lift and bring it forward. This is the first step. Now, this is hard. Another leg to bring hard, because first side you can do easily because it's a free movement. Other side is hard. So again, watch carefully how you have to do, then you can do easily. What I said to you, two things are very important in lotus. Bending from the knee, so you are just completely closing the knee joint. Second, rotation of the thigh, so my thigh should be rotated externally, and then bringing the foot against upper thigh at the opposite side. Same thing I will do here. Dandasana leg. Now I cannot bend now here, right? So what I will do, before bending the knee, I will rotate, drop my leg side, and then when I drop my leg side, then I will just shift the weight a little bit to the left side, and I will bend this like this way. So when I bend half, I will keep the knee down. I will keep this area also down, and then slowly I will lift this foot up like this. Can you see that this movement? What I did, I first drop, I rotate. So what happened when I rotated? I took the movement from hip to down, and this leg I took the movement from down to up. Other movement, you also need to pay attention to this. Then second thing what I did, I drop it, I slightly bend it so that I can bring this knee together closer. I can close this joint. Now it cannot be closed the same as it was, so half close is fine. But now very important trick is here. I want you to place the hand on this calf muscle here and hold the bottom leg. And then when you hold the bottom leg, you just shift the foot on the top. I don't want you to bring the hand here to bring it up. Why? Because if you bring the hand here on the thigh, you will again twist the knee, and that is the wrong movement that many of us do. So I want you to press on the lower leg, just lift the foot, create the gap from this side. Little very tiny movement. What I did, I moved the knee to the side. So side and then up, this, and as much as possible this. And now this is a lotus pose. This is how you should do. So you are already in Padmasana. How to come out? This is also a very important part of Padmasana, because injuries happens when you enter or when you exit. So the same thing, as you went in, same way you need to come out, reverse. So I took this leg first. I will hold my leg from the bottom. See what I am doing? From the bottom, this lower leg, I will just slightly roll this thigh, this bottom leg, the shin bone downward. I will just open it, drop it down, and then I will slightly move it forward and rotate inside. Then this, again out, then again up, and then straight. Similarly, as you went, come out. Don't just drop it. Maybe after some time, when you become flexible, when you become regular in this kind of pose, then maybe it is easy for you to come out as any way you want. But right now, until you are preparing, just go with the steps. So each steps, again repeat the video, again watch the steps, what I did, how I am explaining, and then try. Before doing lotus pose, make sure that you are doing proper warm-up, hip and the knee joint, that can prepare the knees and the joint of the hip for the lotus pose. Very important that those who have any injury, maybe if you have any knee injury, you can try, but try if you feel pain, it means that still the hip joint is not allowing you to do this movement. Skip and prepare just for the warm-up. Just do the warm-up for a few days. Once you feel that you have good flexibility, then you can try this. Share the video. If you like and subscribe the channel, so that when I post such kind of videos, you will get the proper notification and you can learn this kind of techniques and you can apply in your practice. Namaste.